From the Rafters of Rupp is brought to you by Clark's Pump and Shop, Community Trust Bank, Double Dogs, Friends of Coal, Hunt Brothers Pizza, and by Kentucky Farm Bureau.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to From the Rafters of Rupp. I'm Kyle Macy. This season, we continue to highlight former Kentucky legends that have not made their way to the rafters just yet, but have had an incredible influence on the program. For this episode, I sat down with an NBA world champion that had a steel resolve for the game of basketball. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the next 30 minutes of From the Rafters of Rupp, Kentucky basketball legends. Larry Steele was born May 5th, 1949 in Greencastle, Indiana. He grew up in Bainbridge, Indiana, just west of Indianapolis. He played basketball at Bainbridge High School, and he was a star on the team. As a junior at Bainbridge High, he had a high game of 46 points. His senior year would turn out to be even more special because he was selected all-county, all-sectional, all-regional, all-semi-state, Indianapolis News first-team All-State, and a member of the Indiana All-Star team. He finished his high school career with 1,646 points. Having such a great career helped Steele get on Kentucky's radar. Coach Rupp would bring him to Lexington, but things weren't always as smooth going as it was in high school, playing at the mighty Kentucky.
When I go back to talk about my freshman year, and I was the only one that made it out of my recruiting class. And I mean, these were good players that decided to leave the program. And that pressure was always there. And the only way I survived that pressure was I was always harder on myself than probably the coaches. Coaches were hard on you, and you know that. The coaches in that era were extremely hard on players. And I was harder on myself. So it was like I just took it and, yeah, I need to play better.
Even though things were harder, he knew that being a Wildcat and playing basketball was such a gift. He wasn't dealing with pressure, but more of a blessing.
Because I got to play basketball, I've never really felt that pressure. It was the opportunity to play, and that made a huge difference in my career. That I'm not saying you don't get nervous before a game and you expect to have a play in the tournament, but the primary foundation of all that emotional part is that loving to play the game.
As he got more adjusted to the college game, he also learned that he might be asked for more from Coach Rupp. One of his requests really caught Steele off guard.
Coach Rupp wanted the TV crew out of the building because he wants no one in the building when we're practicing, getting ready for the game. So he wanted them out, and they wouldn't leave. And so he called us together, and he said, you see that TV monitor over there? I want to run a play, out of bounds play at the end of the court. And I forget who he said to pass it in, but I want you to throw the ball wide, and I want you to throw it over that monitor. And Steele, I want you to go after the ball. And when you go over the scorer's table, I want you to take that monitor out. So we run, the practice play, and the ball goes wide, and I go for it. I go over the scorer's table to get the ball, and I missed taking the monitor out. But when I came back over the scorer's table, I accidentally put my foot on it.
After successful sophomore and junior seasons, which Steele averaged 8.6 points and nearly 10 points per game respectively, there was a lot of optimism going into the senior year. The team had a bunch of talent coming back, and Larry was ready for a breakout season.
With Jim Andrews and Tom Payne, both of them were very good players. So that was very helpful. Mike was back. Tom Parker was playing a lot. And so I don't remember the other guards that we had, but it was a good team. I guess on that team we still had Terry Mills and Stan Key. And the expectations were always the same. the expectations were always that you win.
As the team looked poised to make a run in March, a lot of eyes started looking at Larry as a potential NBA draft pick.
Some about halfway through my senior year, started hearing people say that I might get drafted. Never planned on playing pro ball, just again play. But the biggest thing about that year was the fact that we, at the end of the year now, are going to play Western Kentucky. The year was just another year of scoring a lot of points, pressure basketball. Coach Rupp was having some medical issues, things that I didn't know. I don't know how much the players knew, but he didn't feel great all the time. Coach Hall was having more of he always had a great influence, but he's having a little bit more influence on game coaching because Coach Rupp did at times, I know, not feel his best. So it was an interesting year from a relationship between game coaching and players playing, and we got through it fine. But there were some things going on behind the scenes that I really can't even speak to him now. I don't know what all was going on, but there was some adjustments in the coaching.
Coach Rupp continued to lead the team, but every now and then, Coach Hall would step up to help. Steele and his teammates knew this and would lean on Coach Hall when needed.
Several times in games, when we'd leave a huddle, sort of look over at Coach Hall and say, is that what we're going to do? Because we knew that Coach Rupp was struggling a little bit.
We'll be right back with more of my conversation with Larry Steele after these words from our sponsors.
For those on the go, the smoothie connoisseur, the break room favorite, and for those that just never quite have it all, Clark's has what you need to keep your day on track. Make life easier and keep your busy schedule moving forward with everything you need at Clark's. Clark's Pump and Shop. Return, refresh, refuel.
Fresh, tasty, savory. Double Dogs is a great place to eat. Whether you like sports or you just like great food, from pizza to salads to burgers to our legendary fried pickles. Double Dogs. In a single word, delicious.
Welcome back. Larry Steele's 1971 team had a 6-game win streak when it faced an in-state rival Western Kentucky University in the Mideast Regional Sweet 16. The game was played in Athens, Georgia at Stegman Coliseum. A strong first half by the Hilltoppers had them up 51-38 at the half. Western added to its lead in the second half and took down the Cats 107-83. Jim McDaniels led 3 Hilltoppers in double figures with 35. Steele would foul out with 4 points on 1 of 5 shooting from the field. The Cats were led that game by Tom Parker with 23 and Tom Payne with 15.
They were great teams. They were really good teams. And as you well know, whether you're watching collegiate basketball or NBA basketball, are you gelling at the right time? Are you playing well during those few weeks, maybe higher than you normally do? And we, both in Jacksonville and Western, great talent, playing in the high caliber. And I don't remember what our game plan would have been. Our game plan most of the time was do what we do well and did well. And that was press and fast break. And so we just ran up against a very good team and didn't have a great game. And it was a big game for the state of Kentucky.
At UK, Larry Steele was a 3-year starter, averaging 13.1 points, 6.7 rebounds, and 3.9 assists per game. He was a 2-time first-team All-SEC player, co-captain, led the team in assists, and was a Leadership and Hustle Award winner. As a junior, Steele earned 3rd-team UPI Coaches All-SEC honors. His senior season earned him 2nd-team AP and 3rd-team UPI Coaches All-SEC honors.
I hope fans remember that I played the whole game. It wasn't about scoring, wasn't about rebounding, wasn't about assists, wasn't about any of those things by themselves. It was about being able to play the whole game, and that I enjoyed playing. I think I played hard. I played hard as I could.
Steele was coveted by the pros in the 1971 NBA draft. The Portland Trailblazers selected him with the second pick in the third round. He was the 37th overall player selected. He was also picked by the Kentucky Colonels in the American Basketball Association draft.
I make a trip out to Portland, and in those days, news wasn't instantaneous. So if you remember, you're not quite old enough. I remember. But you really got East Coast news. You know, anything that happened on the West Coast, you weren't really aware of it. And so the West Coast was sort of a non-factor. And so when I was drafted by Portland, I probably shouldn't admit this, but when I was drafted by Portland, Oregon, I wasn't quite sure whether it was California, Washington, Oregon, or California, Oregon. You know, I didn't know what was on top of each other for sure. Didn't do well in geography, but and so I figured that out. So so I'm drafted by Portland, and so I go to Portland and get off the plane. They told me that don't worry about the rain; it doesn't really rain hard. And so the beat writer for the Oregonian picks me up, and he's got on like a storm suit. It's raining so hard, you get soaked. So I go to the offices of the Trailblazers, and I'm meeting the president of the team. And so, and of course, as you well know, everything's yes, sir, no, sir, yes, ma'am, no, ma'am. And so I go in, and he says, welcome to Portland. And I said, thank you, sir. And I sit down in front of him, and he says, and shortly after that, we talked for a little bit. He says, we're prepared to offer you a 3-year contract to play for the Trailblazers. And I said, no agents. So I had no agent. And so I said, well, is that guaranteed? He said, no, we'll offer you a 3-year contract. And he sort of sidestepped that question. And so we talked a little bit longer, and I said, well, I was drafted by the Kentucky Colonels, which obviously he would have known. And I haven't visited them. And I'm thinking if I basically am going to try out for the team, I should just go back to Kentucky and try out for the Colonels. So I said, thank you for your hospitality. I hadn't even seen the Memorial Coliseum, which it was called in Portland. And so he said, well, you haven't even seen anything yet. And I said, well, you know, I might as well go back home. I was ready to get back on the plane. I wasn't upset. I just, you know, facts are facts. So I went down and looked at the Memorial Coliseum with the trainer, and we were gone a couple hours, and we come back. And I sit down in front of the gentleman's name, amazing man, Harry Glickman. He passed away last year. But Mr. Glickman said, well, we're prepared to offer you a 3-year contract, and we'll guarantee the first year and give you a $5,000 signing bonus. And I thought, you know, thank you. And, you know, can I maybe make a phone call? And he said, not a problem. It says down the hall, there's an empty office about 3 doors down. Go down there and call anybody you want. So I got up and walked out his door, and I got about halfway down the hall, and I thought, I don't have anybody to call. So I thought, I'm okay with that. So I just turned around in the hallway, walked back, and said, you got a deal. And so that's how I became a Trailblazer. It was really high pressure negotiations.
Don't go away. We'll be right back with more of my conversation with Larry Steele after these words from our sponsors.
Careful now, over torque for if destroy railing. Who writes this stuff?
Hi, honey. How's it going?
Oh, it's going good. Really good.
It might be difficult to understand what you got yourself into when the box says some assembly required. But with a Kentucky Farm Bureau agent in every county, at least it's easy to get great insurance. Kentucky Farm Bureau, big on commitment.
Should be ready by the time she's in high school. Yeah.
The coal industry's had a big impact on my life. My grandfather was a coal miner, my father was a coal miner. Coal is the largest driving force in our local economy. Have you ever wondered why developing countries don't have the same water and air quality we do? That's because affordable and abundant energy dramatically improves environmental quality and climate safety. You know, I want that for my daughter and her kids as well. That's why I'm a friend of coal.
Prior to joining the Trailblazers in 1971, the team had a questionnaire that Larry Steele needed to answer. His answers had a lot to do with his relationship with Coach Rupp and Coach Hall.
And that led to my first year in the pros when they were doing psychological exams about, you know, are you coachable? And I remember one of the questions on the exam was, do you, multiple choice, do you always do what the head coach tells you? And that was always, seldom, sometimes. I was being honest, I put sometimes I listened to the head coach because I just came out of that senior experience at UK. And so my report came back that I was uncoachable. And but I played for the first five coaches the Trailblazers ever had. So I think I was coachable, and I was honest for sure.
Right. Steele would find himself in the rotation almost immediately. He would keep that spot for almost 10 years. In 1974, he led the NBA in steals. The first year it was statistically recorded. In 1977, Portland made its way to the NBA Finals in only its 8th season as a franchise.
Well, we had a great passing team, and we had a great team of players that knew their roles, and Bill was the center of that passing team. But as the season went over, new coach in Jack Ramsey, the offense fit the personnel perfectly. So we were able to continue to gel, continue to get better. And so by the end of the year, we were playing really good basketball. And we got a little break. The Lakers, when we beat them, were hurt. They were banged up a little bit, but we were able to win that series in 4 games. And so everyone's just gelling. We're playing well together. We're scoring a lot of points. Now we're up in the finals against the 76ers with Dr. J and Daryl Dawkins. I think Collins was on that team, and Henry Bibby. Yeah, a great team, a really good team. And so we lose a couple in Philly, and we come back, and we end up in the 5th game or the 6th game, and we win the 4th game, but we won the championship. We win at home against the Philadelphia 76ers. So we're world's champions. We're in the locker room. Everyone's going crazy, of course. And a reporter comes up to me and he says, and I don't regret saying this because what I told him was true, but he says, "This is amazing. You're world's champions. You know, how does it feel to be world's champions?" And I said, "It feels sort of like another year at University of Kentucky."
Steele and the defending champs would start the 1978 season with an unthinkable record.
The next year, we win 50 out of our first 60, and hardly anybody ever does that. Walton got hurt. Bob Gross got hurt. We still had the best record in the league. But the 77-78 team that 60 games was the greatest team I ever played on. They was an amazing team, and we were just cranking out quarter after quarter of good basketball. And it was better than the championship year, but then injuries ended all that.
We'll be right back with more of my conversation with Larry Steele after these words from our sponsors.
Hunt Brothers Pizza has been proudly serving communities across America for over 30 years. Download the Hunt Brothers Pizza app to find one of our 8,000 locations inside a convenience store near you. Choose from Hunt Brothers Pizza's original crust or thin crust, then customize your pizza with any of our 10 toppings to choose from at no extra charge. With that many options, there's sure to be a topping combination for everyone to enjoy a Hunt Brothers Pizza. Call ahead and order yours today.
You're on the move every day. You're mobile, and so is Community Trust Bank. Now, you've got one-touch access to your accounts. No need to remember or update passwords. Make a deposit with a click, not a pen. No deposit slip and no line. And get that morning cup of joe without the hassle, without the wait. Community Trust Bank is dedicated to making your banking experience secure, fast, and easy. Don't wait. Go mobile with Community Trust Bank. Building communities built on trust.
Steele would play all 9 of his NBA seasons with the Trailblazers. He would retire from the game at the end of the 1980 season. He finished his NBA career averaging 8.2 points, 2.9 assists, and 1.39 steals per game. Portland retired Steele's number, the number 15, in 1981.
Maybe my number one honor in basketball is having the jersey retired. And there's a side story to that, because at the time, before that happened, I was director of marketing for the Trailblazers, and there's a big conversation about what the banners would look, because at that time there were no retired numbers. And so my boss wanted to do the Boston Celtics style, with the numbers up there. And I said, no, I don't like that. I mean, you go to an arena and you see the numbers, and 20 years now, 50 years, 40 years from now, people look at the number. Who is that guy? Because there'd be people retired that we don't know. And so I held strong with my belief, and he gave in. And so now every retired number up there obviously has a number, then has the player's signature underneath. And I think, maybe a little prejudice, but I think it's the best banner, one of the best banners for retiring past numbers.
After playing the game, Steele decided to coach it.
No, I hadn't planned on it at all. I got recruited by the University of Portland. They came to me and said, we have a position open, a head coach, and we want you to come. And I guess they must have listened to a couple of broadcasts or something. I mean, I knew the game. I knew the game well. And so they talked me into applying, and I got the position, and it was exciting to go and play, and then to go into the coaching. So I enjoyed it.
Steele knows that all his success didn't just happen. He had to work for it, and he did.
Only recently have I looked at the fact that I played a lot of basketball in unique situations. I don't know how many players have had the opportunity to play Hoosier basketball for a Hall of Fame high school coach, play University of Kentucky basketball with a Hall of Fame coach, play pro basketball with a Hall of Fame coach. And so I tell kids that in my camps that they have a lot of great opportunities now, and they are opportunities. But if I'd had all those opportunities when I was in a little small town, I don't know whether I'd become a professional basketball player with all those different steps, but I only had baseball and basketball to do. And so I played them a lot. And I really believe that the love for whether it's tennis or basketball or biology, whatever it is, if you really love it and you spend enough time, you have a chance. And so I never thought about being a college player. I never thought about, after being a college player, I was going to be a pro player, and being a pro player, I never thought about my number being retired, and that type of level of success is all due to the fact that I just love to play.
Playing and coaching basketball consumed his life over 3 decades. After it's over, what does one do with all that time? No practices, no games. Well, Larry's family now takes precedence over basketball.
Well, I follow the granddaughters, and my daughter Carrie, who's with me today, she went to San Jose State on this scholarship, and so she played really good basketball. And so now the granddaughters are playing real good basketball, and so I get to follow them around. And every once in a while, I get to put in my opinion. And they're so really nice human beings. They always listen and smile.
Larry says that without Kentucky basketball and the Big Blue Nation, he wouldn't have been able to make it to the pros.
Well, thank you so much, Kyle. And I want to return that with appreciation for Kentucky basketball and having the opportunity to play here and learn so much from all the coaches that we had. And we mentioned Coach Hall and Coach Rupp, but I also want to mention Harry Lancaster, amazing coach. And Dickie Parsons was on that group at the time. So great coaching, great fans, great style of basketball. And without that, I wouldn't have been able to continue to play in the pros. So thank you.
After his retirement from the NBA, Larry worked in the Trailblazers front office, coached college basketball, and even worked as an analyst for the NBA on CBS. He currently runs a basketball camp in Vermonia, Oregon, and in 2003, he was inducted into the Indiana Basketball Hall of Fame. Thanks for joining us, everybody. Until next time, when we hear more tales from the Rafters of Rupp.
From the Rafters of Rupp was brought to you by Clark's Pump and Shop, Community Trust Bank, Double Dogs, Friends of Coal, Hunt Brothers Pizza, and by Kentucky Farm Bureau.